find yourself in a place of conflict, not knowing what just happened, and emotions are all over the place? Hi, I'm Debra Kasowski, three-time best-selling author, speaker, executive coach, and the host of the Millionaire Woman Show podcast. Thank you for joining me. Today, I want to talk to you about dealing with conflict. Conflict is something that people like to avoid. It is a place that they feel uncomfortable. They're full of emotions and not sure how to handle those situations. So they think that it's best to avoid them or let time pass and hopefully, nobody will bring it up and it'll be okay. And often leads to people leaving grudges and just having that uncomfortable, awkward interactions moving forward. So today I want to talk to you about how to move through that process with dignity, grace, and acknowledging that each of you is human, because I think what people are looking for is thinking that we can move through this and it has to be perfect. Conflict, disagreements, miscommunication can often be messy. But when we get together and really think about the process that you can use to allow grace and dignity amongst all people, because we are human, we do make mistakes, and there is the opportunity for us to respond to these situations, which we have a response ability, the ability to respond, versus moving into a place of reactiveness, which often happens, and people start saying things that they later regret because they move into what we call the amygdala hijack. The brain wants to protect you, and it moves into that fight, flight, or freeze, which isn't going to serve you in solving the issue at hand or dealing with the conflict. So one of the first things that you need to do when conflict arises is stop and ask yourself, what part did I play in this? There is a reflection time to really think about, and this is why it's often good to step away from the situation and give both parties and say some time to process what just happened, to offer some self-reflection and think about, okay, what part did I play in this? What could I have done differently so it didn't go awry? And what can I do differently moving forward? Now, instead of jumping to the boss or jumping to a manager, it is best if you go and talk to the person that you have the conflict with, provided that they're willing to sit down and talk with you. So you're going to want to do this in a private place. It's really important that both parties feel safe in exchanging information, feeling that they can be open and communicating to each other without having other parties around them judging the situation. So when you can pull that person aside, or maybe even go out of the office for coffee, so it's in a place that is kind of a neutral zone, that you feel that it's safe. Then start by asking the other person for their take on the position. And they might even ask you to share, this is what happened in this situation. I want you to move the emotions out. It's not that your emotions are very driven because they're in that protective mode. So, and what I want you to do is not go to a place of regretting some of the things that you say. So the best thing to do in those opportune moments is to share what your view of the situation was, share as many facts and details as you can, and then just pause. Ask for that person in front of you to offer their opinion, their judgment of what had just happened. Because we know that there's always more than one perspective. And it could be a simple miscommunication, a misunderstanding, missing some information as well. So when you allow that, and this is where your active listening really has to come in, that reflective listening. You want to be able to listen to the other person, perhaps repeat back to them what your understanding is to ensure that you're correct. Because you might not be correct in your interpretation of what they said. If they agree that that is what they said, then come to a place of finding a mutual agreement and understanding. And it could be that you offered new information that helped them agree with you, or understanding where the miscommunication lied and you fixed it. So this is the ideal way of solving this conflict process. However, there will be times when you agree to disagree. And for the sake of your business, for the sake of the area that you work, so it doesn't impact the work that gets done, you have to come to a place of mutual agreement so that you can work with another person, especially if it's a personality conflict. You might not be best of friends, but you can probably get the work done that needs to be done for the vision and mission accomplishments, whether it be in your family life, business life, or in your organization. Worst case scenario is that you're going to need to escalate it to a manager or a supervisor to say that you're still in disagreement and you might need a third party perspective to help guide you through the process. But ideally, it could be solved between the two people when they're open to listening to each other and understanding another point of view. But when everybody's emotionally charged and in the heat of the moment, it is best to take a step back, give some time. It could be, 10 minutes, it could be 24 hours if needed, but tend to that conflict as soon as possible. I remember years ago when I had a performance conversation with an employer, and they were going through, and this is when I was first a manager, and they said, Deb, you're doing great. Now you need some people management skills. And, it was supposed to be one of the goals on my performance conversation. And I now laugh saying I should never ink anything like that again, because not even the following day, 3 consecutive days, I faced conflict after conflict after conflict. And no, it was not comfortable at all. I didn't like it. And there's times I still don't like going into that. But here's the thing I know, it's human behavior. We are looking for what is in the best interest of ourselves, how we see our perception and perspective. But sometimes we need an outside source, or for us to step back and have some reflection of what are we triggered by? What is it that is bothering me about this situation? Here's some key tips. Don't sit down with the person and say, well, how come you did this? Or why would you do something like that? Those are 2 phrases I don't want you to even say when you're in the middle of conflict. You want to put, gas on a fire. That's exactly what you're doing in that situation. So you want to be able to even map out, script out, practice, role play, if you will, if you feel very uncomfortable. There's no harm in making a few little notes, dotted notes for yourself to say, I brought in some points on a piece of paper. I want to make sure that I don't miss anything that I need to talk to you about. That's fair game. That way you're not going to go back and say, I wish I would have said this, or I wish I would have said that. You deal with things head on. So what you want to do is start off by doing your own self-reflection. What part did I play in this? And what can I have done differently in this situation so far? Then it's creating that safe environment, being able to talk to someone in a private space environment where both of you feel comfortable. Third is sharing each other's stories, being open, re-listening, paraphrasing back what you hear to ensure both of you have a clear understanding of each other's stories or picture of the situation. Then coming to a place of mutual agreement. When you find out where the gaps were, possibly in information or communication, most often it can be solved quite quickly. However, again, there will be times when it won't be possible, so it may be needed to escalate to a manager or to a supervisor where you get a third-party perspective who might just draw a line in the sand. I hope this is helpful for you. Conflict is uncomfortable, and it gets easier with practice. However, there's a lot of discomfort still there because it's not about the person that we're dealing with. It's the behavior, and we need to focus on the behaviors that we want to change, because I don't know about you, but it's hard to change another person. The best thing to do is change yourself. Thank you for joining me. I'd love for you to go over to my website at www.debrakasowski.com, where you can get your free download right now of the 3-part video course of Making Habits Stick, where you can build focus and consistency into your business. Now, if you're interested in coaching, I would love for you to message me for your complimentary 30-minute discovery session to see how coaching with me can help you grow in your organization, grow in your business, or even your life. Thanks again.